What's up? What's up? Oops. How you doing? How you doing? What's up, everyone? How you doing? How you doing? Just waiting for a few people to bounce on. If you don't mind giving me a minute. It's kind of a last-minute impromptu live broadcast, and we're just playing with this algorithm we found. We'll see how it works out. There we go. Lucky number 3. What's up, everybody? So this is kind of a last-minute impromptu broadcast that I'm doing on this live format. Wanted to do something for you guys, and I thought, what better gift to give than the gift of prayer? Not the kind that maybe you were taught in school. I was taught all those prayers. I went to Catholic school my whole life. I was an altar boy for 12 years. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right in the chat. I'm talking about the power of intention, the true power of prayer, and how you can use it to, thanks CJ, good to see you, how you can use it to affect your physical reality, because most people are so confused about prayer. Oh, good. Thank you, Adriana. You know, I was brought up Catholic, and as far as I understood, prayer was memorizing a bunch of stuff, reciting it so much that you couldn't forget it, and you really didn't know what you were saying half the time, at least growing up. And then, you know, you learned that if you really needed something desperately, you could and should probably ask God for it. So you ended up begging. You ended up begging God for help. Please, God. How many times have we done that? I mean, I can't even. I think I spent half my youth begging God to forgive me for any number of imagined cardinal sins I thought I had committed at a very young age. God, you know, it can be traumatic for kids to be convinced that they're going to be tortured in hellish flames for all eternity just because they did something that they were told they weren't supposed to. Anyway, so the power of prayer is the power to manifest your heart's greatest desires and intentions. And the only thing standing in your way of this is your notion that you're separate from it. Right? And this notion that you have to beg and plead this separate entity from you, this God, this divine creator, to try to get this miracle of a thing. But you yourself are capable of miracles. And I'm going to tell you the secret of prayer if you want to stick with me for a few minutes. I'm going to tell you the secret of manifesting what you want in your life, however elusive it's been. And we're going to talk a little bit about why it may be elusive and what may be in your way. Because Rumi said it best many, 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 many moons ago. He said, that which you are seeking is seeking you. And that's absolutely true. And the things that we want that continue to evade us, it's because we feel so separate from them. Some of us have not even imagined what life might be with those things. And this is crazy. I talk to so many people who have these wonderful dreams for their life. And I ask them and I say, Have you imagined what it's going to be like when that happens? And almost always their response is no. No, I can't even imagine it. And I sit and I'm flabbergasted, because how can you be dreaming about something and never have imagined what life would be when you get it? The power of prayer is the power of intention and manifestation. But it comes with first understanding that you are not separate from that which you are seeking. And then as you begin to rehearse and be grateful for the thing that you are seeking, which seems so elusive, when you start to celebrate it as it's in your life already, even though you have not seen the physical evidence or been convinced that it's ever going to show up, I promise you, when you turn around, it will be in your life. And the sooner you can move out of the realm of, okay, I hope, okay, I believe, to, okay, I know. I know. Just like I know I'm sitting on this chair, and I know that I can get up when it's time. Without a shadow of a doubt, I know it's coming. When you have that kind of belief, hey, Queen, yeah, this is really live. Thank you. We wanted to try out this format, and so I thought I would bring this back for YouTube. But I'm so glad you joined us. So this is your divine birthright. Okay, this is not it's not a superpower. You were born with this ability. You just were never taught it, and you were not taught how to utilize this divine spark, this little individuation of the Creator that is making your heart beat without a single thought, that made your body grow. This thing called life. That's what we are. That's what we're imbued with. It's incredibly powerful. And we all have it. And so when you pray in, I don't know what else to call it, the old-fashioned way, I want to say when you pray like a Catholic. But I shouldn't say that. I don't want to offend my Catholics, because I was baptized and I received every sacrament. So I have nothing against, my whole family's Catholic. But what I'm saying is, when I see Catholics pray, they're begging and they're pleading, and sometimes they're even crying, and they always look pretty unhappy about the whole thing. And I'm wondering if they realize just how the signal that they're putting out is just more begging and pleading. And that's what you're going to get back. And people who continue to put out that kind of vibe continue to see the same results in their life, because they don't believe. They don't understand their creative ability. And that is the secret, right? I mean, the movie and the book was supposed to be about that. I'm not quite sure how clear they were. But this works. And if it doesn't work for you right away, it's not because it's not because it's BS. It's because you haven't gotten good enough at it yet. It takes a little bit of practice. You need to align with what you're looking for, with what you're desiring, right? And if you can align with your heart's desires, you'll join with them. No questions asked. That is the way it works. But if you're one of those people, and I was one of those people, but if you're one of those people who is begging and borrowing and that's not going to work. The signal you put out is the signal you're going to get back. When you understand that you're not separate from what it is you're seeking, and you begin to celebrate that, that is the signal that you're putting out. You are always putting out a signal, whether you're conscious of it or not, with your emotions, with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your actions, the way that you make other people feel. All of this is vital. But most people don't have an understanding of it. And so they continue to, to the world, and then they wonder why the world does that back. And that may sound woo-woo and new agey, but it's true. We are all resonant machines. We're always resonating a signal. And the signal that you resonate predominantly is the signal you're going to get back. Just look at your life. Look at your life and tell me that that is not patently true. Look at your belief systems and tell me that that's not patently true. That for everyone just joining, we're talking about the true power of prayer, the true power of intention. I'm whatever, young, old boy. I don't have time to read your nonsense right now, dude. If you don't like the live stream, you could just go back to being miserable wherever you just were. So, for everyone just joining, we're talking about the power of prayer and manifestation, and how to align with it and stop being separate from it. And so, the most important thing that you can get out of this is that you already have this ability, right? It's not separate from you. And where people run into problems is they want this thing and it's so far off. Okay, whatever it is, the house, the car, the loan payback, it's always so far off. And they're dreaming about the day maybe, you know? But if they started to imagine and feel into what that is going to be like as it already happened, then you start to change your reality, and you start to live differently, and you're no longer separate from that thing that you're seeking. And for whatever reason, this ancient wisdom has been lost. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, which I get into on my channel and on my IG channel about why a lot of this wisdom has been lost, but I won't get into that on this live broadcast. I'm not worried about young old boy. He's obviously in the wrong place, so he can go back to wherever he came from. But for everyone who just got on, I'm talking about the true power of prayer and the power of intention, and the way to begin to align with your heart and your mind, body, and soul, right? And if you've ever been in that rare place where everything is lined up for you, and you're just like, you feel like you got those shoes on that Mercury wears, you're just walking on sunshine, and everything is going right for you in a magical way, and you feel filled with spirit, CJ, and you feel it in every cell in your body, and crazy synchronicities begin to happen for you. If you've ever experienced this, it is a wild state, absolutely. And I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and my God, synchronicities are kind of the way that this infinite reality, all these potentials that we're constantly going through, almost like Doctor Strange in the movies, the way he's going through millions of these potentials. We have this same ability, and when synchronicities come into play, they affect our lives in ways you could never expect. And it's always surprising, and it's always a fascinating little experiment. But we did this thing, and I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he used to have his students, write something in a notebook, whatever it is, whatever you want to show up in your life, and make it so it's something that you cannot miss and that you have never seen before, right? Write down exactly what it is you want. And my God, if you could have been in the room those weeks when this was happening, the craziest, people wrote down some crazy shit. I wrote down, I wrote down a, I wrote down a purple basketball. I can show you my notebook. And then we went deep into this meditation. And he guided us through about an hour and a half and went deep into the quantum field. And I think it was almost 1 year to the day that I wrote down in my notebook a purple basketball, because I had never seen a purple basketball in my life. And I didn't really think one existed. I mean, I suppose one would exist somewhere. Maybe some spray painted a basketball purple, but I just knew I wouldn't miss it if I ever saw it, right? So it was almost 1 year to the day. I was in Chicago it was like a baby store. And I turn around, and my kids were very young then. And I see this thing on the wall. And I go to reach for it and it glows. It glows. It's a purple basketball. And it glows in the dark. So when you go into this meditation, you are imagining this thing, but you're deep in the void, right? So when I was imagining this purple basketball, it was glowing. It was glowing because everything was so dark where I was in this meditation. And so when I turned around in this toy store and I saw this purple ball, and when I reached for it and touched it, it glowed. I almost fell over. I picked it up and I was in awe. And I was walking around with it. I don't know what I must have looked like. My wife was like, remarkable. And I have the notebook, and I have the not only do I have the notebook, but I have the purple basketball, and my kids play with it. They're like, and I was like, what is this? It's so weird because there was only one of them. Why a purple basketball would be in an infant store, I have no idea, but that's where it was. So and the stories that you can hear about people manifesting, this one dude wrote down a cat. There was a cat in his room. I mean, you can hear the testimonials on his thing, but my point is that when you begin to realize that there is no separation. And listen, another thing I should mention is very important, okay? The final ingredient to this is to not be attached to any outcome, okay? And do not try to imagine how this thing is going to show up. Because what you do then is you crush and limit the probabilities of all the ways the universe intended to surprise you with this thing. So this is key. The power of prayer, the power of intention lies in, by understanding, by knowing that you are not separate from this, you have no reason to feel attached and wait for it to show up, right? Because it's already shown up in your heart, in your mind, and the way that you are celebrating and being grateful for this thing, you have no reason to be waiting for it since it's already here. If you're waiting for it, you have misunderstood the power of intention and the power of prayer. You cannot pray and then wait because you are separate. Immediately you are separate. If this works, if it's the only way it's going to work is through gratitude for what you already know you have, and that comes with a perfect, serene non-attachment, right? And those two things are the final piece of the ingredient. Actualizing, that's right, CJ, because manifesting is truly actualizing. And that's the way it works. And when you understand that, speaking of Catholicism and Jesus, and some of the miracles that you heard that he did, Jesus was a master. He understood that there was no separation between him and what he was and who his Father was, right? There was no, and he came to teach people that. And that's what he meant when he said, you all will do this. That's exactly what he was talking about. He wanted people to understand. Unfortunately, his message has been co-opted and hijacked by governing bodies who wish to retain control over the power structure. So, but for everyone who's been with us, for anybody who's just joining us, we're talking about the law of resonance, the law of manifestation, the power of prayer, the power of intention to affect the physical world. And regardless of people like young old boy who obviously don't have any experience or see the value in this, you can see physical experiments. Honest question, how come starving people don't manifest their needs? I'm sure they visualize it a lot. I'm sure they do as well. But I think that they imagine themselves separate from it. I mean, they're sitting there all day. They're sitting there all day begging for something they don't feel they have. It's hard to know. Those people who do that, who sit and beg, and there's a difference between a beggar and someone who's starving. And it's atrocious that there are people on this planet who are starving when we have so much. We have so much. I mean, even in America, we throw away so much food every night. We could feed the people around the planet with what we throw out. But I believe, and that's you see people, you see videos of people answering other people's prayers. And there's some of the most amazing, heartfelt videos, when you see someone walk up to someone on the street, and they give them this. That person, their prayers are being answered. They're becoming one with the thing that they have been trying to manifest. Now, that person usually is back in that same spot a few days later. But I thought praying like a Catholic is wrong. No, praying like a Catholic isn't wrong. It's just ineffective. I don't know how much time you want to spend asking for something that you feel separate from, but you don't need to ask, is what I'm saying. You, as a divine creator, as an individuation of the Creator, of God, of the universe, whatever your preferred, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to ask because you are not separate from it. And so what I'm saying is the reason why Catholic prayer, when it comes true, when prayers are answered, usually for Catholics, in my experience as a Catholic, is usually when a miracle happens. It's not very often that prayers, big ones, are answered. And that's because usually Catholics are completely separate from the thing that they're asking for. And I don't know if that's native to Catholicism. That's my experience. And my grandmother, I had a little Italian grandmother, wonderful woman. She couldn't walk by a homeless person without giving money to them. So I learned charity from my grandmother. Now, she was very Catholic. And she was a wonderful soul, a beautiful person. But she would pray traditionally, and she was always asking for things. And the problem with asking is the moment you ask for something, you're separate from it. So praying, when I say praying in a Catholic way, it's not that it's right or wrong, it's just that the signal you're putting out, the signal that's being received, because everything is vibration and frequency. It's a signal. This is entirely a radar as much as it is a transponder. All the time, whether you realize it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, everything about you is transmitting and responding, right? That's what your soul is doing. And so my point with all that is, when you understand that, then you understand that by asking, by begging, by pleading, by prostrating yourself, you are removing yourself from that thing which you want so desperately, right? And so that emotion will not serve you at all. That signal is all you're gonna get back is more separation, more desperation, more of the same. Because believe it or not, God is always answering your prayers. You just don't know how to pray. God is answering your prayers with the feelings that you're putting out, okay? And this is why people who prepare for the worst, expect the worst, get the worst. They get their prayers answered every time. How many people do you know? How many apocalyptic doom-saying, people who are storing their... Something grandiose and colossal, like bad happens to those people. I mean, that's my experience with them. They get their prayers answered, right? I see it all the time. And why is that? Why is it that people who do that, who have these fantasies, they come true? Well, they're not attached to them. The signal they're putting out is, I'm ready for them, I'm ready for them, I'm ready for them. And they're proud that they're ready. They feel good that they're ready. Even if they're not so great, in a great mood of a person, they're still putting that signal out. It's always transponding. And it's always receiving. So the more you can move into a state of gratitude, and Dr. Joe taught me this, and if anyone is familiar with his work, you'll hear him in this. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When you can touch into the gratitude that you feel, even if it's for your children, for your pet, for your beautiful pet turtle, your goldfish, what you have in your life, the more you can get cozy and familiar and intimate with a feeling of gratitude and return to it and find ways to return to it, the more things in your life are going to show up that you're going to be able to say, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Why? Because the signal that you're putting out consistently, predominantly, is gratitude. Gratitude is thank you. Thank you so much. I have what I need. Thank you so much for that. You didn't have to do that. Oh my God, thank you. I feel so good about that. I don't need anything else. When you are in gratitude, you feel whole. The problem people run into is they feel like they got nothing to be thankful for, right? And if that's the case, then you have some searching to do. Because I guarantee you there's something in your life that at least you should be thankful for. And if you can't feel that gratitude, then there's probably a lot of resentment and emotional blocking that has gone on that you need to shovel through. Just like I just did. See, I used a shovel. If that's what's happening, if you're like, well, I know I should be grateful for that, but I can't feel shit. I can't feel anything. My heart's closed off. I'm jaded as fuck. Well, my friend, if that's how you feel, if that's where you are, then you've got some work to do. Because that's the predominant feeling. And maybe you have bouts and moments, little moments of happiness and joy, but if that's how you feel, and listen, I was there. I know that feeling. Believe me, I know that feeling. I know what it's like to feel like I have everything to be grateful for and I can't feel a fucking thing. I know exactly what that's like, and it's terrible. It's terrible. So you owe it to yourself to find out why you have become jaded, to find out where the damage was done, and then to practice opening your heart, because you cannot feel into gratitude. You cannot feel into self-love, and you can't truly love other people until you have broken through that ice sheet over your heart. And this is a big problem and a big challenge for guys and girls, a lot of women, I say girls, I'm sorry, a lot of women, surprisingly, and I'm friends with a few of them, and I'm like, wow, nothing? No. Because what happens after trauma and pain and neglect, is we harden ourselves. We learn how to cope through those things, and we separate ourselves from the pain. And it happens over and over. So that could be what's standing in your way. That was certainly in my way. And it was not a short, it took me a little while to start to realize what was in my way. And also then because what happens when you're traumatized is you have a physiological response to opening your heart. And it doesn't happen, right? So if that's the case, then you've got to find out at what point you built this shield over your heart and how you can begin to practice breaking through it, because you need to break through it. It's the only way. You're going to be in a quagmire if you are trying to manifest and pray for things to change in your life, and you're doing it from a place of misery, even if it's just a little misery, a place of anger and resentment for where you are. You're gonna have to get down and dirty with what's standing in your way, because if your heart has been hardened, it's going to be very difficult for you to truly feel gratitude. You're not going to fool the universe. You're not going to fool God. The signal you put out is what you're going to get back. Period. You're not. you can't exactly. I mean, fake it till you make it. Not many people can get away with that. But the good news is there's a lot of ways to do this these days. So if you're interested, there are many books. A few books that I read. Dr. Joe Dispenza, obviously, Dr. Bruce Lipton, John Bradshaw wrote some great books about how to understand if you've been wounded, if that's one of the reasons, if your development has been arrested, and if that's one of the reasons why you've run into so much trouble. Yeah. But, I appreciate you guys jumping on this impromptu with me. We wanted to try out this format and also try to take advantage of an algo loophole that we found. We are going to be doing much more of these, and we're actually going to announce them. And I also have a freaking 12-foot green screen upstairs that I need to assemble. And we're going to be coming out with a new series where we take the shorts that we do and we turn them into about, 5 to 7 minute long, really diving deep into some of those awesome subjects that we have covered. So I want to thank you guys for jumping on a totally impromptu little live YouTube session. And I appreciate you guys. And if you haven't seen my podcast with Bruce Lipton, check that out. And to all my, CJ, it's good to see you. It's good to see everyone. I know a lot of you jumped on from my IG channel. And, we did this really last minute. And we saw this crazy, YouTube, put it up, come on over. Do you agree? Oh, awesome. Awesome, Jay. That's cool. Jen, thank you so much. So there'll be more of this. I apologize for this being so impromptu and last minute. The truth is, we saw this video about YouTube's algorithms and their loopholes. And thank you, Owen. I appreciate you joining me, man. Thank you so much. And we were trying to see if we could get this live broadcast, you know, kind of to go crazy. But the trick we tried didn't exactly work. But it's good to speak to you guys anyway. I don't care if there's 2 or 12, you know. Before you go, how can I define the word miracle? I always have trouble. Thank you, Owen. How do you define the word? How do I define the word miracle? God, that's a great question, Owen. I would say, you know, I called my brother, my older brother, who passed away in January, a miracle, because he was never really supposed to live. And then once he was born, you know, they weren't even gonna try to keep him alive because he was. The odds of him living were so crazy. Thank you, Owen. And then as he got stronger and he lived, and he was born with a twin brother, and his twin brother died 14 days later. And even though he was the weaker one who wasn't breathing, he survived anyway. And then he lived his whole life in complete defiance of everything that people thought, like, you know, all his conditions that he had. And then on top of it, just to keep it interesting, he loved to gamble. He was a sports fanatic. I mean, it was really his only passion, is what he loved. And he was always thumbing his nose at the odds, you know. I think a miracle is something that happens in divine fashion, against all odds, you know. And I don't think a miracle has to be, you know, Jesus pulling out fish and loaves and keeping the party going. That's one miracle. But miracles can come in so many different ways. I think that miracles, I don't think it's a good name for what they are, because miracles are possible and they happen every day all over the planet. And half the time I think people aren't even aware. But I would say that they're divine gifts, but they're a birthright. They're a human birthright. They're a divine birthright because we're divine beings. And so I think that as you think about miracles, Owen, don't think that they're separate from you. Believe they can show up in your life. Know they can show up in your life, and they will. Little miracles, and then maybe big miracles, you know, but they happen every day. And I believe that they can happen to anyone. You just have to have the right belief system in place and know that the universe has a surprise for you around every corner, right? But God bless you all. Thank you so much for everyone who stayed with this crazy, impromptu, last-minute YouTube live session. We're going to be doing more of them, and we're actually going to let people know that we're having them. Much love to you all, and thank you so much, and we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, CJ. Thanks, everyone.